You know exactly what is happening. Jealousy is a silent but powerful shadow. It settles in even when it isn't spoken. He watches. Meanwhile, you go about your life. The competition around you grows, and he notices. This perception is not a weakness. It is a trigger. He feigns indifference, but the restlessness grows inside him. His lack of action does not mean that nothing happens. With every smile, every interaction, his displeasure accumulates, and you unknowingly feed this flame. He reacts subtly, a more attentive look, a shorter response, a silence that weighs heavily. This is not confusing. It is a pattern. You continue to act naturally. He waits for a change. He justifies his apathy with promises that never come. And so you remain, unaware that the tension is building. The bond is strengthened by the fear of loss. But the truth is clear. Jealousy is not love. It is disguised possessiveness, a reflection of unspoken insecurities. This dynamic is not healthy. Each moment you give space to this situation, the cycle remains alive. He may not act today, but the pressure will build. Sooner or later, he will manifest it. Reality has already been presented, and when he finally manifests, it will not be as you imagine. Desperation will present itself in the form of cutting words. Promises will dissolve into accusations. He will try to reduce you to an object, a reflection of his insecurities and not the human being you really are. You know you are facing a choice. The choice is not easy. Keeping him by your side may seem safer. You justify staying with the hope that one day he will understand, that one day this will change. But this hope is a trap. It is a perverse logic that sustains a cycle of control. He makes sure to show that the world is against you. Friendships are questioned. Moments of joy become vulnerable to suspicious glances. You find yourself in a web woven by him, but the threads are held together by your fear of being alone. You don't see the invisible prisons forming around you. His silence is not peace. It's a battlefield. And in this field, you are always on alert. Every interaction that deviates from the norm generates a palpable tension. You start to modify your actions, control your smile, measure your words. What should be light becomes a constant exercise in restraint. He watches everything. A fleeting glance that feels as heavy as lead. He doesn't need to do anything. Your own self-censorship is enough. You've learned to dance to his tune while your inner melody slowly fades away. He may not express it verbally, but his jealousy is a scream that echoes. The unspoken words speak loudly, and when you try to argue, he turns the conversation into an attack. You find yourself defending not only your choices, but your essence. The defense feels incessant and exhausting, while he remains in the role of judge. With each argument, you realize that it's not just the relationship that is wearing thin. You are losing yourself. What was once an us is now a me versus him. The desire to belong turns into an oppressive weight. You start to understand that each day is a new battle to claim space in your own life. He might never realize that his possessiveness is just a mask. The truth is, he has no control over you. And while you bend to the pressure, the relationship becomes a game of shadows. You ignore the warnings because what was beautiful between you has been dragged into this whirlwind. But the truth cannot be denied forever. One day the silence becomes unbearable, and you feel the urge to escape. Escaping is not abandoning. It's recognizing that what has become normal is not acceptable. You look to the future, and it seems murky, but at the same time, it is yours. You realize that change does not come from it, but from you. The decisions you have postponed begin to take shape. When you see yourself in the mirror, you no longer recognize the reflected image. The woman or man you once were gradually disappears under suspicious looks and unspoken words. Now action is required, and acting does not mean waiting. It means claiming your identity. You must cut the ties that keep you bound and make it clear that your freedom is non-negotiable. The feeling of liberation may border on fear, but it is not the first time you have faced something that seems bigger than you. It's time to confront what you have omitted. Jealousy may have been a shadow, but you do not need to be the sun that feeds this darkness. When the decision comes, it is not a declaration of war. It is a simple acknowledgement that you care more about yourself than what he thinks. The reality has already been presented. There is no return to what was. And by taking this step, you realize you are not alone. There is a vast world beyond the walls you built to protect the vulnerability he exploited. This world is yours. You decide if you want to inhabit it or remain at the mercy of the insecurity that once was part of your life. Life will not be linear, but it will be real. There will be no empty promises or word games. The truth imposes itself with a necessary coldness. You do not need justifications. You already know what is right. What follows is a choice you can finally make for yourself. Listen again, or review when you want to confirm. You see yourself in a labyrinth built by fears and doubts. With each step, the inner voice echoes that it is necessary to act, but inertia weighs. Each day of waiting is a new layer of insecurity accumulating. And in this space, the distrust is not just his, it is yours too. You begin to look back for the moments that were joyful, full of life. What happened? Bright eyes are now shadows. You realize that love was buried under tons of jealousy and possessiveness, and this loss is a silent mourning. What once brought warmth now seems like a burden to be carried. He, in turn, becomes a distorted mirror. From this reflection, you no longer recognize who you are. Laughter has turned into cautious whispers. What should have been a safe haven turns into a prison, and yet you cling to what was, as if memory could reverse reality. But remember, nostalgia is just a mask. It does not protect you. It keeps you stagnant. You take a deep breath, analyzing every aspect of your existence. The job you loved, the friends you lost along the way, the conversations that no longer happen. A vibrant world outside the relationship you abandoned. The fear of confronting it consumes you, and the possibility of rejection becomes a ghost that haunts your thoughts. You know what you feel is real, but what he does with it is distorted. And here lies the fine line that separates you from your essence. However, in this internal struggle, something begins to change. A flicker of clarity. Amid the grey days, you find small moments of light. A conversation with a friend, a passage in a book, a song that speaks directly to your state of mind. These are signs that life can exist outside that cycle. Life is not only made up of people who occupy space, it is made up of experiences lived fully, and when you realize this, a desire begins to grow. The desire to regain your autonomy, not just to be free of the relationship, but to be free of yourself, from your imposed limitations, from the way self-worth was suppressed. He may have tried to mold you, but he did not define your worth. This feeling goes beyond any unspoken word. It is an internal spark that starts to burn. Meanwhile, he continues in his comfort zone, in the game of appearances. And the uncertainty he fed is no longer yours. Now you observe. Your gaze moves away from his control. You see yourself. The shadow that was fueled by jealousy begins to diminish. With that, a new challenge arises. How to communicate all this? How to break the barrier of silence? How to say that not accepting anymore is, in fact, accepting? The internal conflict grows. You know this communication can provoke unexpected reactions. He may shut down. He may try to turn the situation around, but you no longer fear the response. You are ready to take a stand. There is no longer room for distorted interpretations or omissions, and when you finally open your mouth, the truth flows. The words are firm, but they don't need to be sharp. You reaffirm who you are, without apologizing for it. The conversation is not about hurting, but about restoring boundaries. It is about making yourself heard. He tries to argue, tries to pull you back into the confusion where he feels comfortable, but you don't give in. The game has changed. The rules are no longer the same. You refuse to be reduced to an object of possession. With every word, you rebuild your identity. This new position provokes reactions. He gets irritated. He wonders where he went wrong, and you realize that this doubt is a reflection of the very chaos he created. The lack of clarity turns into a scream, and there, in his desperation, you see more clearly who he really is. As the layers of jealousy and insecurities are peeled away, you feel lighter. The weight you carried is replaced by a new understanding, that love is not control. It never was. True love is freedom. It is time to accept that some relationships will not survive the naked truth. You are ready to let go, not because you didn't care, but because you care, because you love yourself. And that is enough. The choice is now clear. The future remains hazy, but it is no longer intimidating. It is yours. You choose how you want to inhabit it. And that choice, as simple as it may seem, is the beginning of something new, something that doesn't need labels or explanations. Reality has already been presented. You have finally decided. You realize that freedom comes not only from his absence, but from the presence of yourself. And that presence is an act of resistance. Every step you take toward the unknown is a statement that you are no longer willing to live by someone else's rules. As you move away, you begin to notice the details of the world around you. The colors that once seemed faded now come to life. The sunlight becomes more intense, the sounds clearer. The smile of a stranger evokes an echo of joy you haven't felt in a long time. The memories of the past still haunt. The good moments that were eclipsed by possessiveness are now seen with a new perspective. You cannot change what happened, but you can choose how it shapes your future. A future where love is not synonymous with pain. Looking back is not nostalgia, it is learning. You begin to understand that every relationship brings lessons, but who decides how to apply them is you. And that decision gives you power. You revisit your forgotten passions, drawing, writing, dancing, skills that were set aside, stifled by others' insecurities. Reviving these interests is like reconnecting to parts of yourself that were numb. And this rediscovery is pure and non-negotiable. The jealousy fueled by him is no longer something you carry. It transforms into fuel. Every word that comes out of your mouth now has weight. You talk about your desires, your needs, and no longer about your shortcomings or mistakes. Your voice resonates with clarity. And when you stand up for yourself, the walls that encased your being begin to crumble. Relationships change. Some people drift away, others get closer. You begin to attract those who recognize your worth. Friendships that were once underestimated gain new strength. Every shared laugh becomes a testament to your rebirth. But there are still darker days when doubt whispers. The echo of unfulfilled promises still reverberates. You question if you made the right decision, if you are really ready to move forward. This is a natural cycle. It's not a shame to feel fear. What matters is how you react. You allow these feelings to pass, but you don't let them define your path. You seek support, share your experiences, find comfort in the words of those who have already walked this path. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. One day, in an open conversation, you mention the past. You talk about everything that happened without the emotional intensity that once dominated you. Now you narrate what it is like to have control of your own life. The reactions of others surprise you. There is empathy, understanding. You realize that speaking is an act of liberation. Meanwhile, he is still there. Sometimes a ghost that appears in your thoughts. But you notice that this presence diminishes, not because you forgot, but because you learned to see your story from a new perspective. What used to cause pain is now just a chapter that doesn't define the whole book. Over time, you realize that the space between the two has become solid ground. It's no longer unstable. It's a place where you can be alone and happy, and that gives you the strength to explore new opportunities, an unexpected trip, a new activity, a project you always wanted to undertake. Small steps that form a great movement. The solitude that seemed frightening is now a space for growth. You learn to love your own company. You discover that happiness doesn't reside in another person, but within you. And this discovery brings a genuine smile, a smile that doesn't need validation. You say goodbye to what you had, but not to who you are. Love transforms, changes its form, and now it is self-love that pulses in your chest. It doesn't make noise, doesn't demand, it just exists, just like you. And it's not just about moving forward. It's about building something new, far from shadows. It's having the courage to dream again, building castles of possibilities where there were once walls. And in this place, you don't just live, you flourish. The days of struggle are left behind. The weight of the past transforms into learning. And thus you advance. Each day is a new opportunity. Each day is a new choice. After all, the reality has already been presented. And now, you have finally decided for yourself. You realize that freedom is not a fixed state. It is a constant dance full of ups and downs. Each step is an affirmation of your choice. Loneliness, though initially uncomfortable, transforms into a fertile space. You find yourself in a world that is no longer so dark. And even when the echoes of the past try to resurface, you can see through them. The anxiety that once consumed you is now just a distant shadow. You have learned to deal with it, not to avoid it. Fear hasn't disappeared, but it has become a feeling that you recognize and respect. Its memories still appear from time to time, like an old friend that refuses to leave, but you no longer feed them. Looking at them doesn't mean reliving the pain. It means understanding what they represented. And this understanding is power. You begin to reevaluate your relationships. The people around you become a reflection of who you've become. Some remain, others simply disappear. There is no resentment. There is only acceptance. You learn that each farewell is a release. The conversations that were once shrouded in fear are now open and honest dialogues. You find new allies, people who resonate with the same frequency of authenticity that you've begun to cultivate. The laughter is more liberated, the tears less heavy, and then someone emerges. A kind look, a different approach. No rush, no expectations. This new presence does not carry the weight of past possessions. It is light, like a fresh breeze on a hot day. You hesitate at first, but the attraction is undeniable. A genuine connection blossoms. Vulnerability, which was once a weakness, now transforms into a strength. You open up slowly, sharing your experiences without holding on to resentments. This person listens, respects, and more importantly, does not try to mold you. Acceptance is pure and unpretentious. Over time, you discover that intimacy can exist without the fear of possessiveness. This new relationship becomes a reflection of everything you have worked to build within yourself. Conversations flow naturally, and the silences are comfortable. There's no pressure to fill the voids. Love is no longer a prison. It is a choice, a conscious act of two people who have decided to walk together, each maintaining their identity. The promises made are true, based on mutual respect and the freedom to be. This love is different. It does not feed on insecurity, but on trust. And as you embrace this new chapter, you realize that happiness is not just about finding someone, but about being fully present in your own life. Every little moment becomes worthy of celebration. Breakfast becomes a sacred ritual. Outdoor outings turn into rediscoveries. The company of someone who respects your boundaries is what has always been missing. And self-affirmation gains strength. You express your opinions and desires without the fear of being misunderstood. You share your dreams and aspirations, no longer hiding them under the veil of fear. This new experience becomes nourishment. You learn to feed your soul with self-promoting experiences. Art, music, literature, all these elements that were once stifled begin to take the space they deserve. Meanwhile, you look back, not with regret, but with gratitude. Every tear shed becomes part of the mosaic that composes your journey. And you finally understand that those experiences, as painful as they were, forged the person you are now. The metamorphosis was not easy, but it was worth it. Unlike the shadows that once defined your existence, there is now light, a light that comes from within. And with each step, you reaffirm your autonomy. Reality becomes increasingly clear. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You are enough exactly as you are. And by embracing this truth, the future opens up before you, not as a challenge, but as an opportunity. You choose the path of authenticity. And this choice is not just about you. It is a testament to the human capacity for rebirth. The reality has been presented, and now you have finally decided to live for yourself.